Hello, everyone. I think that we have a presentation. Okay, cool. Jenny Wendt, MidAmerica Clean Future Alliance. I also work for an association of mayors along the Mississippi River, MRCTI. It's that we have 105 mayors from Bemidji, Minnesota down to New Orleans. The Mississippi River drains 40% of the continental US and 31 to 32 states. So it's a really important place to focus on plastic pollution reduction. And that's what I am, the plastic pollution reduction manager of the Mississippi River. And I'm going to say some things that are probably not going to be popular with you all. And I apologize in advance. I loved what y'all are doing in Hawaii. It's very inspiring. We're working with, we're in Missouri. We have Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, Louisiana. We're not going to be able to do those things. Most of the cities in those lower states, they don't have access to recycling at all. Not at all. They definitely don't have education around plastics. And of course, we all have heard about Cancer Alley all day. So I've been to the INC, the negotiations. I've been to 3 of them. I'm going to the last one this summer in Geneva. And I know you said Ellen MacArthur was really focused on recycling, but I'm part of the Businesses for a Global Plastic Treaty. And this group has Nestle, Coke, Pepsi, Unilever, all those big guys in there. And their focus is on product design, chemicals of concern, all of these other things for reuse, reduction, and then recycling. Yes, recycling is in there. And I'm not gonna lie, we have cities in Greenville, Mississippi. I just had a call earlier trying to get funding from the Can Manufacturing Institute to fund a local implementation partner in Greenville, Mississippi to do more collection of aluminum and plastic beverage bottles to keep them out of the environment. So I get funding for recycling, but what comes with it is education and outreach and community-based education or community-based projects so that it's led within the community. Okay, the INC, Ellen MacArthur. Oh, EPR, one more thing about extended producer responsibility. I understand that in this country, it is a lot focused on recycling. However, I believe even if it is focused on recycling, when this guy has to pay for this material at the end of its life, he's going to do what it takes to reduce this amount of material at the end of its life. So I see innovation on the front end to reduce what they have to deal with on the end. It's not perfect, it's not pretty, but I am somebody who believes in compromise when in actuality. I don't believe it in my mind. I envision this beautiful place, but when it comes down to it, petroleum rules our world. It's awful to the point where earlier today, I got a call from somebody who said, because I've been working in nationally, locally, nationally, and internationally on plastic pollution, I'm always talking about it. The American Chemistry Council reached out to my organization to talk to somebody else about what great things they're doing. So I know somebody's listening and I know it's working if they have that much energy to reach out to my organization to try to convince them otherwise from what I've been talking about. So I just want to start there and say, it's not zero waste. We're not going to get that in the middle of the country in these states that we're working with. But what we can do is improve education, empower local communities, reduce when we can, recycle when we can, try to get people to use better materials and focus on the health impacts, reproduction, testicles. Sorry, that's a huge way to get to red America. And other, no more babies, no more, so this is how things can move forward without it being like in your face. Don't, you got to stop everything. Okay, next, let me, you want to introduce yourself, Caran?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Caran. I love it. Okay, it's coming up. So we are MidAmerica Clean Future Alliance, like I said, and the intent of our organization, I've done a lot of work through the years. I started with a degree in chemistry, worked in environmental labs at organic analysis, volatile organic analysis, tested a lot of the compounds that are in plastic between volatile organics and semi-volatile organic analysis with DC mass spec, and then moved into more of the social role. But our intent is to, okay, So I've been doing this a long time, we all have, right? So we're in the middle of the country and I've been working for years with all the environmental groups and we're trying so hard to implement all these things and just hitting a wall, hitting a wall, hitting a wall. And then after the first, first time the guy in office won, a few years ago, I knew there was a need to get out this echo chamber. Because clearly things are happening outside of our groups that I love talking to people and learning what everybody's doing.
Or is it a little bit?
It's so Zoom can hear you.
Oh, hello, Zoom. So our intent with this organization is to really bring it to rural and other people, talk outside of our echo chamber and really pull people in by empowering people within the communities, getting them resources, finding those champions, and the champions and the communities decide what they're going to do. So we started with the plastic pollution initiative, of course, that with the Mississippi River plastic pollution initiative. Go ahead. And I already told you that the Mississippi River drinks 40% of the continental US, 32 states. That is an hourglass from our Mississippi River Plastic Pollution Initiative. We partnered with United Nations Environment Program, University of Georgia, and National Geographic Society. Really did a big campaign collecting data along the river. And the top 3 items were consistently cigarette butts, plastic beverage bottles, food wrappers. Aluminum cans weren't far below, plastic bags, the normal stuff, but we had data that we could take to producers and say, hey, Coca-Cola, most of this stuff is yours, but and not in like I said, trying to change that rhetoric. So not in that way, like, hey, by the way, here's your beverage bottle back campaign. We have so many beverage bottles. So what can we do to get these beverage bottles back to you? Because you can have, you can have. And it's working slowly, of course, because like everything, it's a lot of work. But those topics that, for me, it's that beverage bottle out of those 3. Iowa, in the Quad Cities, and that's the only state of ours that has a bottle bill, and that plastic beverage bottle dropped down the list. So, of course, the bottle bills work. Next. Okay, so with this, we found high levels of beverage bottles, but the biggest thing is the lack of resources and prioritization of waste. So I talked to people like the recycling partnership that says, we have funding for cities, and so I'm talking to Blytheville, Arkansas, and Blytheville's like, that sounds great, but who's going to do it? We don't have a grant writer. We don't have somebody to implement. We have nobody to actually do this. What are we going to do? So we really try and focus on getting resources directly to the communities and helping. Not just but bringing and then of course we also talk about our environment, like I said, we'll focus on that the middle. And what we're really focusing on, as far as reuse goes, when I talked about, we are talking to St. Louis about a massive reuse, like the archive, bringing it in. Minneapolis has done it. Minnesota is our gold star state. Change mix. Oh, so exciting. Oh, it looks a little wimpy. There you go. Thank you. So the reuse is tough in some of these places because it's so far outside. They've been doing this single-use plastic water bottles. They don't have infrastructure. It's not even a priority. So we're really focused on filling station and reuse solutions like that. So schools, the trays, which we talked about, that's a great low-hanging fruit. Refill stations are just such a low-hanging fruit, and everybody's easy. Now, to-go containers reuse is a little bit tougher. So we have to start small, We started some school recycling programs, community recycling drop-offs, and most of those are aluminum. Like I said, the Can Manufacturing Institute is funding some of these implementation of recycling. So really trying to push that aluminum circularity locally, because these cities may not have recycling programs, but they do have scrap yards. And so we know there's a place to take this aluminum. We just need to make those connections and make it happen. And the cities don't have the resources to do that. Education and outreach, which Caran will talk a lot more about that. And then EPR readiness and policy templates. So what that is, because we live in these red states and we're not going to have, I mean, we have Tennessee talking about EPR legislation, Louisiana talking about EPR, Illinois, you know, we have states that are talking, Minnesota passed it. Wisconsin, I have hope for them too, but it's not going to happen in Missouri. It's certainly not going to happen in Louisiana, considering the governor of Louisiana went to Busan before the INC to talk about their economic space they have for petroleum. So Louisiana is not on there. But what we can do is talk about EPR readiness, and that includes reporting. MRFs don't report, or no, sorry, haulers do not report to our cities. We have in St. Louis County an ordinance that they have to. Whether they do or not, I don't know, but that's a huge piece that I've talked to folks in California that's missing, and in Colorado, like they don't have the data on what was being collected and where it's coming from. So how are they going to implement and make improvements? So, and then another thing is, so contracts, waste management contracts, vendor contracts. So if they're bringing in pallets of single-use plastic water bottles and beverage bottles, and they have this vendor contract, how about the next time it comes around, which might be 20 years from now, because those vendor contracts are, you know, if you all know, put something in there. Okay, you're bringing us all this material. Then when you come again, then you should take all the material back. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, and people will laugh at it and whatever, but getting that like in the ears and, you know, little planting that seed, like, okay, you're going to bring us these materials, but we don't have anywhere to put them. You need to take them back. And then implementation assistance. And a lot of that implementation assistance is finding that local champion, getting them the resources and the things they need to be able to motivate and, you know, empower their, and build up their community within the community. Okay, a few successes. The Mississippi River Plastic Pollution Initiative, I talked to you about that. We had, I was supposed to get 3 partner organizations in 10 cities. We got 150. There were so many people on board, a lot of conservation organizations, because, you know, hunters, fisher people, they don't like plastics either. And then we took that data and leverage funding. We got some EPA grants, Gulf of Mexico grants, because the Mississippi River drains the Gulf. And we got some partnered with the University of Georgia on circular assessment protocol, and St. Louis and Baton Rouge. And this is where I really started with Caran on the building that community engagement. We got some more additional funding. And then this beverage bottle aluminum can recycling. And so this is Nikki, who will now be working in Greenville, boots on the ground, implementing and motivating and collecting that aluminum and getting it recycled. So we've, and it's funded by producers, which is critical. Next, I think I'm going to hand it to Caran.